Socialists are. Then, if they believe this, if they believe workers should have control the means of production, then they're the movement that's going to be the largest fighter, the most predominant fighters for workers' rights and also civil rights. It will be the socialists who will be the leaders in the fight for, or the fight against Jim Crow laws, the fight for equal rights for all people regardless of skin color, and for equal rights based upon sex. They were the leaders in that by far. So when we get to the 1960s, so we're in April, and we're going through Martin Luther King, we're going through the civil rights movement. There are going to be posters all over the South put up by those who want to keep segregation laws of Martin Luther King as a communist. Here he is at communist training school because he wanted equal rights. So these are going to be the largest fighters for equal rights. And so basically what their idea would be ultimate democracy. So have regular people have full control of not only the political process, but the economic process, which I've tried to make clear are integrated completely. I mean, that's part of the reason why the whole issue about the tariffs was a position by a political leader, but it directly affects the economy. So these are three of the big demand, or a bunch of the big demands by labor unions or for socialists for workers' rights. So anything from 8-hour workday, leisure time, employer liability. Have you ever heard of workman's comp insurance? That's employer's liability, vacation, etc., or just 8 hours, labor, recreation hour, 8 hours rest. A concept that would have made no sense for the Industrial Revolution, but this 8-hour working day. And I should add, labor unions and socialists have similar goals, and some labor unions were socialists, some weren't. But just to review, I don't know how this happened. Things are getting messed up. I don't know what I did. Give me 1 second, everybody. I must.
No, actually,
Okay, so the ideological foundation. Everyone write down the Communist Manifesto, 1848. We've talked a little bit about this before. Written by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels. Marx was a journalist. Engels was a British capitalist. He was in the market. 1848, the year of revolutions. So there's Marx and Engels with their wives. Marx would be both of them kind of, well, this was the time everyone had facial hair. Every male. And had to add that. And there's Marx, Engels right there. And this is the ideological foundation. I've mentioned it once before, and I just kind of talked a little bit about capital. But let's get to the base element of this. So this is going to be an attack on, or at least a opposite view, an opposing view towards capitalism, and more against social Darwinism. So the idea of socialism, there are no hierarchies. One person is not better than the other. That person would fit into the idea of civil rights. So what they viewed as history has always been class struggle. Those with against those with, the haves, desperately trying to keep what they have against the have-nots, who desperately want a better life and a bigger piece of the pie. Always had this class struggle. So he went all the way to he was a pretty good historian. So he talked about, he talked about Greek, he talked about Roman. The big one he really hit was feudalism. But now capitalism is different. It's capitalist against labor. And this is a lot different than before because the labor, the lower class, are now working together. They are now concentrated, and thus makes it more able that they can get power together and take control of the capital. And so this wasn't all supposed to come at once, but capitalism, his main idea was exploitation. How? Through the wage system. So the workers need to control the capital. Remember, in capitalism, not that it wasn't like this before, but never before has it been so concentrated to those around the capital. Capitalism, they get the profit. If profits go up, the company's making money, wealth is coming in. What happens to wages? No change. Has no change at all. Profit goes up, profit goes down, doesn't affect the market. And if the capital, whoever has the capital, starts getting a monopoly, wages drop. They go outside the market and wages drop regardless of profit. Now, the capitalist would make a very valid point. You can agree or disagree, but they take the risk, they get the profit. But you can also understand the point of view of the workers. There's no, history is kind of full of gray areas. So whoever controls the capital, meaning the workers, are going to have to take it over. They just got to take it over. How? What Marx said is there's going to be a revolution. Now, the revolution might be a violent one, or it might be more and more, we would say, in the ballot box. Meaning, new government, new constitution, new rules, or the capitalists are going to fight. Marx went back and forth. He basically said at first in the manifesto, oh, they'll never give it up, and they will fight to the end. Then later on in life, he would waver back and forth. We can do this without the bloodshed. Because he, student of history, looked back to what happened in the French Revolution. And so it went back and forth. But you can imagine how those with the capital will claim anyone who believes this point of view, communists are a form of socialism, want a violent revolution. And they're going to take what you have. Be very good propaganda against socialism. And socialism already has their own problems. So what happens if there's this revolution? It'll be replaced with kind of a training period that he dubbed the dictatorship of the proletariat. AKA workers will take over, and when the world is ready for perfect capitalism, then they'll turn it over to the control of the people. Perfect democracy. So that old system of concentration of wealth, the concentration of power of the capitalism will have to be destroyed. Capitalists will have to be destroyed. Now, first off, I have no idea how you do that, and neither did they. Would it just be a normal system where, okay, now we must all adapt? Or do we take out the capitalists and shoot them? No one's sure. Maybe you have camps where they can be re-educated. The point is, this is up in the air. And then when the time is right, it will turn into perfect socialism, aka perfect democracy. And states, money, even religion as we know it will fade away. Now, Marx believed that religion, mainstream religion, was functioning as a way to keep the wealth in the hands of a few and to maintain power of the upper class, in this term now the capitalists. And he had good evidence. Just look at the wealth of the Catholic Church. Now, a lot of people have interpreted this as being he's anti-religion. It's more like he's anti-mainstream religion. But this is where you're going to get this term godless communist. That's why in 1951 they added to the Pledge of Allegiance under God. We're not godless communists. That's why that's there. We'll show the communists. But back to this. Well, first off, violent revolution to perfect socialism. It seems a little bit like his economic ideas. Yes, sound economics. This is kind of hard to imagine. And there's something else. Do dictators give up power? When are the people going to be ready? Let me give you an example. 1917, there was the Bolshevik Revolution. The Bolshevik Party, small, very kind of isolated little group of communists called Bolsheviks took power. And they said there'll be civil war, but they'll maintain power. And the idea is spread revolution all over the world to make perfect socialism. But we'll be a dictator till the people are ready. When will the people be ready in the Soviet Union? Never. In fact, I have the old Soviet flag there. And yeah, they were never ready. And what did they become? Horrible, brutal, totalitarian dictatorship. But they still talked about workers' rights, but they became a brutal dictatorship. They never, ever gave up power. 1949 in China. Communist revolution. Chinese Communist Party took over. Dictatorship of the proletariat. When did it end? Never. They still have the dictatorship of the proletariat. Even though now China is a state, is basically state-run capitalism. It's not even, that's all it is. They still have that same dictatorship. That's the point. They never get to that. That was a kind of fantasy one. So let me ask you something. On the political spectrum, is this left or right? Okay, I found a picture of Marx without a beard. And I'm still taken aback by the picture of Marx without a beard. I had to put up a picture of Marx without a beard. Marx. My whole life, I've only seen that picture of Marx with a big beard. Without a beard, like, they're a different person. Do you ever see the political spectrum, right and left? This is used all the time. People don't really, it's misused all the time. But your right, your left. The political spectrum. Is socialism and those communism is part of it, is that left or right? Left for you or right? Left? This is left. This is left. So, what's on the right? What's the farthest right wing? You're right. Political and economic idea. Fascism. Yeah, fascism. There's all kinds of dictatorship, but fascism is on by far the most right. The most believer in hierarchical societies. And the further left idealized the idea about more equality, more rights for all people. During the French Revolution, when they came and sat at the first National Assembly that was created right after the beginning of the French Revolution, those who wanted the most rights, sitting there and I'm looking at you, they sat on the point of view of the speaker. So the ones who wanted the most rights for all people, men and women, were the furthest left. Those who wanted to prevent the monarchy or dictatorship sat on the left. That's where the right and left comes from. The French Revolution. And what's the most left? For all forms of socialism, what's the most left? Even further left. Anarchists, yeah. Anarchists. We'll get to them in just a sec. All right, so the thing was, the left wing was really bitterly divided. And they had a problem too. Here they are telling people that capitalism has all these flaws, and there were flaws. There's flaws in everything. But also, capitalism is putting products that people have not seen. They liked this electricity thing. And people are like, I just got a phone. Now you want to blow it up? I mean, there are issues right there. But you have the more moderate socialists who thought through some kind of political process. A workers' party, a labor party. They wanted it through a political process. For example, in the United States, the Knights of Labor would be a labor union that thought they could fit one big union of all workers in the political process. There would be a very active socialist party going into the 20th century. Its leader, Eugene Debs, would get millions of votes for president. But don't forget, as popular as he was, we have a winner-take-all system. And with that, third parties just don't function here. We're stuck with two. These are two of the more moderate socialist groups. That's 1912 election for Eugene Debs. We'll get to him a little bit later. This is the Social Democratic newspaper in Germany. The Socialist Party was very vibrant in Germany. And then you have the more radical ones. These were communists. They thought it'd be international revolution. That's the threat of international revolution. Some of you might have heard of something called the domino theory. We're coming to it. Yeah, we're doing it right now in special topics along with monsters. I'm sorry, things. And more, they believe it's going to take violent revolution. Now, the communists, they believe that we could have a cadre. More and more, they believe a cadre of leadership on top. Kind of, Marx was all over the place. And then, kind of hold the workers to this perfect world, and then someday let them have democracy, which of course never happened. But they bitterly opposed each other. To the more modern rules, the communists were going to blow the whole thing with their thoughts of revolution. And the communists thought they were traitors and no better than capitalists by basically appeasing the capitalists. Moderate socialists and communists despise each other to this day. It's a weakness within the left that goes on to this day. Take care of, got it? But much like Saturn devouring his child, that's one of my favorite paintings, my friends. It's called Goya. Well, don't you know Greek and Roman mythology? Saturn was worried that Cronus, his son, was going to take over his throne. So what did he do? He just ate him. Isn't that a cool picture? Any chance to show Goya? I like Goya a lot. But the point is, they devoured themselves, especially when the most radical group of socialists would be called the anarchists, believing in a philosophy called anarchism. And they believed all hierarchy, for some reason I capitalized hierarchy, I guess I was me being witty at that moment. All hierarchies of class, even like the leadership of the Communist Party. The way the anarchists looked, if you have a tiny little group of leaders of your party for workers' rights, hierarchy, class. And they were kind of right what's going to happen in the Soviet Union. The leaders of the Communist Party, the leading Bolsheviks, started living in beautiful dachas and having all the niceties of society while everybody else was, well, told we must sacrifice for the greater good. And this is where we get anarchism. Blow up the existing order, blow it up, and replace it with perfect socialism. Now, how do you blow it up? They don't want anarchy. They're not out there running around, destroy everything. By the way, if you see anybody who says that, run away. They're a lunatic. Anarchists believe we got to blow it up. Now, this could be the political process or outright revolution. For example, that's Emma Goldman. She was a Russian immigrant, naturalized American citizen, Russian immigrant, who would become one of the most vocal socialists. And she thought it could be a peaceful revolution in the ballot box. Elect anarchists. Mixed feelings about her. She would be exiled during the Red Scare right after World War I. But many of them believed what's called the propaganda of deed, terrorism, to show how vulnerable and weak the system is. Anarchists believe acting on their own, because remember, hierarchies of class, to commit acts of terrorism, assassinations, bombings of factories, attacking capitalists or government leaders or the wealthy. And there's going to be thousands of anarchist attacks all over the world from 1880 all the way through 1920. One of the biggest terrorist attacks in American history would be when an anarchist tried to blow up Wall Street, killing 230 people in 1920. So these were all over the world. Assassinations on leaders, you name it. And the thought was they can't even protect the king of Spain. So how can they run an effective state? This would be quite effective. What's the term for being anti-immigrant? For the nativists, who would say, if we let in these people from Europe, we're letting in terrorists. You see this right here? European anarchists, cartoon bomb. We got back a little bit about movies. And then maybe. Happy Math Day. A few more notes. We'll see how that goes because it's short period of time. I have to make it look cool. You're screwed.
If I have it.
All right, I'll make a call.
Yeah.
This is Jake Parker. I just saw your. Yeah. No problem. You too.
Did I miss a? I was on birthday Friday. Did I miss a?
We have a quiz today. Oh, quiz today, everybody. Half sheet of paper. Harry.
I mean, I just the last thing I put in. Good. I remember you. I'm not, probably not. Yeah, not on it. I know, I didn't. I go to the break.
It'd be good. I mean, it's good. I get it. I'm sorry to take over your trip, but.
No, I'm not too upset about it, but.
No, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't think, it's.
Alright, that's what I'm sorry. That's what I'm gonna. So. From a scale of equal, I just claiming you have to. As bad as what?
Ah, sure, dead.
No, I was still a bit.
That's number one.
He wasn't following my orders.
It's not a charge. You're in charge. Take care of it. Take care of it. Yeah, take care of it. You got dogs. 1 to 11. Let's go. You beat it. But 28, 15, 12.
Right. This has been over. It's been over.
He doesn't care. It is over.
I'm not
Never
gonna
even
be,
started.
I'm not gonna be here Friday.
Why do I care?
I might also not be here Friday.
Whoa.
Do you like your friend and you don't want to get, you're gonna get it?
But how much you hate the bad thing you with LinkedIn and.
It'd be even.
No, they're all gonna be. I mean, you and Ethan are always good.
I was good at meeting and going to your.
Oh, I'll do it. For your best.
I had long up.
Did okay?
Yes. It was first.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so you gotta get back into it.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, what did? You gotta watch. So you want to spend too? What did you do? Spin a fly. More power to you. Yeah, I gotta get back. It's kind of cool they can do it indoor. How many laps would it be? Just two.
What's the track like? The track.
Wait, Elena, you're running.
Everyone, half sheet of paper, number 1 to 1,000. I just remember thinking. I remember what the is from. Oh, really? So it's gonna be at what happens. Paper, begin. What have you done with most of the class? I mean, don't get me wrong.
I think.
Good job. That's what I like to see, taking charge.